You look at this White House now, and it's hard to imagine two FBI agents ending up in the same room. How did that happen?
I sent them. Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration, in the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration. In both of those administrations, there was process. And so if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought, it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over.
It's also funny until they're coming for you, right? That was Saint James Comey, as he prefers to be called, gloating about how he sent FBI agents to infiltrate the Trump White House as the first term of the Trump administration was underway. Those two agents who infiltrated the White House ultimately were responsible for the removal of the great Mike Flynn as the White House National Security Advisor at the start of the administration. But finally, we do emphasize finally, the Trump administration is taking decisive action against the Marxist masquerading as a moralizer, James Comey. Having been indicted by the Department of Justice's newest head of the Eastern District of Virginia, Comey, who has spent the last 8 years as the ultimate keyboard warrior, so brave, on Twitter X, was nowhere to be seen outside the courthouse because he apparently skulked into the back door, leaving his obviously much tougher daughter, Maureen Comey, equally corrupt probably, to walk out before the cameras. What a hero he is. Joining us now is none other than Ivan Raiklin. He was posted outside the courthouse waiting for a glimpse of James Comey to maybe get a mocking word as Comey would walk by, only to see Comey's daughter. Just to give you a little background, though I know a lot of you know him, Raiklin is a former Green Beret, an investigative journalist, and he's also the Secretary of Retribution. And as such, should you be in a cabinet meeting right now, Ivan Raiklin?
I'm glad you asked that question, because at the end of the day, I am America's Secretary of Retribution, and I have no affiliation with any president, past or current. Because at the end of the day, we're starting to see and recognize that elements of our White House and this administration, they still have so many corrupt actors in the system. And one thing I wanted to correct you on, I think it's pronounced Jimmy Comey is how I pronounce his name. And when you played that clip at the beginning, remember, it was January 24th of 2017, 4 days into Trump's first administration, where Jim Comey set traps in order to be able to put a box around President Trump in his first term and control and handle him, again, in coordination with, I argue, Mike Pence, his chief of staff, Joshua Pitcock. And then I think you're probably the only one that's reported through your Substack, the relationship between Mike Pence, Josh Pitcock, and Josh Pitcock's wife, Catherine Seaman. We all have to look at that once again, because there are elements of this DOJ and FBI that are still loyal to Jimmy Comey and his entire cabal. Not to mention, to include, I should say, the two that he sent over. Number one, Pete Strzok still has a relationship with folks over there at the DOJ and the FBI that he's probably putting in place to be able to be appointed and control the narrative and to block any accountability. And number two, Joseph Pientka III is now a senior advisor in the San Francisco or the California offices of none other than Eric Swallowswell. Okay. So this incestuous relationship continues, and it's almost as though Jimmy Comey controls the FBI, controls Kash Patel, controls Dan Bongino, because of the people that work for those two individuals, control and box them in. Meanwhile, it's probably also happening over at the DOJ.